Able to see it. Well, good evening, mamas. We are back. It is 2021, even though most of my kids are still trying to deny that 2020 happened. That has been the conversation this week at our house, that if we don't say 2020 happened, it didn't happen. But we are here, and it doesn't matter. 2021 is going to be awesome. We're with Lesa Dale tonight. We're going to talk about goal setting. We can have goals even if it's not the best, even if the year is not what we want it to be. I think 2021 is going to be awesome. And we're going to talk about goal setting tonight. Good evening, Lesa.
Hi, Devin.
How are you doing? Are you trying to deny 2021, 2020?
No, 2020 was fine.
2020 was a good year for me. I mean, it was a new normal. We are all now realizing that, it was a new normal, but it was not a bad year. It was a good year.
Yep, it was just another year.
I think it was, for my business wise, I think it was one of my best years I've ever had. I think we had a lot of learning, but I mean, I don't think it was my girls are, they're their typical dramatic teens. They want to say, if we deny it happened, it didn't happen. We had a good year.
We had a good year.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about goal setting tonight.
Yes.
Yeah, goals are good, and it's a good way to start the year. I'm not much of a resolution person, but I do believe in goals and finding ways to set goals and making them manageable. I think
Yes.
sometimes when we make goals, we're not real good at breaking them down into little bite-sized pieces.
That's the biggest thing. I like goals and vision boards, life plans. So, I got this bundle I'm working on called Dreaming with God. And
Hmm.
it teach you how to do a life plan, how to create vision boards, how to set your goals and actually break them down where you can actually manage them.
Hmm.
Um, I don't like, there's two types of goals. There's SMART goals and there's BHAGs. A BHAG is, what does it stand for again? Big, hairy, audacious goal. This is the one that I really don't like because this is like a huge goal that is almost impossible, especially the way it's taught. And they say, shoot for the moon. If you land in the trees, you got off the ground. But I'm the type, I didn't land in the trees. I failed because I didn't shoot for the moon. I didn't get to the moon. So I don't like that. I don't particularly care for SMART goals just because I think they're restrictive. SMART goals, that stands for Pacific, Measurable, Achievable, Realistic, and Time Bound. And it's the time bound part that I don't like. It's necessary to set your limits and to set your time, but sometimes you don't know what you need. So I prefer to have a goal and figure it out and then set the time.
Hmm.
So that way, if the time limit's up and I haven't even learned what I needed to know to get to my goal, then I failed again. So I think a lot of the goals set you up for failure. Now, like I said, I like to use a life plan. If you don't know what that is, Michael Hyatt, his book Living Forward, talks about a life plan. Basically, you start at the end of your life and you create a vision of what you think your life how you think your life has turned out. Different areas, you may create specific areas like with your family, in your business, in your church, in your community, with your friends, how everybody remembers you at your death, basically.
Yeah.
Um, he actually says to write an obituary that I didn't do. I just said, this is what I think it will happen. Things will be at the end. Um, the new vision boards and the vision boards create a picture of current stuff. You have your stuff that's the big things that, what you want at the end. But the vision board, you can make it for the year. You can make it with the big stuff and you can make it for the year. I like to make mine for the year. I have my vision board last year was blank. I like to do a word for the year, and my word for the year last year was faith. And my verse last year, I do a Bible verse for the year as well. And my Bible verse was the gifts and the calling of God are irrevocable, which is what my business is based on a lot. And it just fit for last year. And when I did my vision board, I had the Bible verse on it. I had faith all over it. I had little, cross stickers and all these biblical things, these
Mm-hmm.
things. But then I didn't have anything for the year on it. And I'm going, I'll come back to it later. The more I looked at that blank, I'm going, no, because it's faith. It means I have to do everything without something in place.
Mm-hmm.
So it fit a blank vision board fit faith. Now, the year before, I had all kinds of things. I had speaking stuff and book writing and being on podcasts and I achieved all those little goals. I did my first speaking event, all those things. The only thing I didn't achieve was the cruise to Alaska. I didn't get that. But yeah, all the stuff for my business I achieved. So that was really good. The book that it wasn't actually my book I wrote. I wrote a chapter for somebody else that published a book. I did it again this past year. I got a day on a daily gratitude book. But this one's actually available on Amazon. The last one was available on somebody's website. But I got published, which is what I was on my goal. So the vision board I think really helps. But the one thing that I teach in everything that we do is it's that time with God to prepare, that time of prayer and sitting down and asking God what we're doing and where we're going and what direction He wants for us.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I like to goal set is to take my life plan, to take my vision board, and then to set goals on how to attain all those areas. And I have a program available on my website called Lifestones. And with Lifestones, you set this goal, whether it's some things you have to put a time limit on, but other things you don't. So you set your goal. That's a milestone. And then the second step is called your cornerstones. And this is your reasons for setting that goal. And you have to have two. You have to have the really nice, pretty reason. Like when I started my business, started the program Discerning My Calling, it was so I could help teenagers find their path, their career in life. The ugly reason, the more personal reason is I needed to make money because my husband is going to be retiring soon and we don't yet have enough in retirement for us to handle that. And his health is bad. Since I started that, he's had a heart attack and cancer. He's still working. And so God is taking care of us and provided for us. And it's not stopped anything from happening, but it's made me look and go, So that's the ugly reason. We need the money. Nothing wrong with it.
No.
But it's not the reason that you tell everybody that's the reason you started your business. Although they know that's the reason you started your business, right?
Yeah.
That's why you start a business. So the third step is your stepping stones. And these are your plan. The actual put it together, figure it out, make your plan step by step, what you're going to do to achieve that goal. And it doesn't matter if it's a weight loss goal. It doesn't matter if it's a activity goal like running a marathon. It doesn't matter if it is a planning your business goal. You might not know all the steps. It might be the first step is to learn what steps you need to take, you know.
That's
So
true.
and in that you take those steps and you have to go, okay, so the first step, do I know how to do this?
Hmm.
So I'm going to measure it. And if I know how to do it and I know exactly what I need to do, that's a 5 stones. But if I don't know, it's a 1 stone or it's somewhere in between. So you rate each one of your goals and each step on the difficulty of what you know and what you don't know. And so you have an overall difficulty rating for your steps, which is why it's not as measurable and or as time realistic, as a SMART goal, because if you set yourself up with that framework, there's so many of those steps that you might not know and you have to go and learn.
Hmm.
And then after you do your stepping stones, you have your tombstones. And the tombstones are the things that will stop you from achieving your goals.
Hmm.
Say, everybody gets sick, some sort of natural disaster happens. It can, it can cause something that goes, wait a minute, I can't do this right now. Again, there's that time frame where, you can't do it on time, so you stop. This will give you something to say, okay, so this happened. It causes an issue. But what we're going to do is even before it happens, we're going to find a workaround for it. So, like if you were training for a marathon
Hmm.
or losing weight. So, training for a marathon, you need to run every day so much. So, it rains and it's cold, and I don't want to run in the cold rain. Workaround, I get a gym membership and go run at the gym.
Hmm.
I need to lose weight, but there's this big birthday party, and there's no way I'm not going to be able to overindulge. The workaround is it's okay. You just start back up the next day. You have free days. You know, anything that can pop up that can stop you from reaching your goal, you find a way around it. So you make a list of your tombstones, and then you these are the things that it's called a killer list, and then you make a list killer. These are the things that will kill that list. So you've already thought of every objection that can come up, and you've already created a way to go around it.
Hmm.
And then you have your firestones. And the firestones are your inspiration. The firestones is the things that's going to get you hyped up and back in ready to go. These it could be quotes, it could be songs, it could be, something that just makes you feel right, an image, something that's going to get you going again, even though you had a couple of days where you're like, I can't do this. I'm never going to get it done. I'm just too stupid or whatever, whatever your self talk is, this is something that will pick you up and lift you out.
Yes.
So, and always with that, prayer is the big part to it.
Hmm.
Prayer is always a way to pick you up and lift you out. Going through praise, and I love praise and worship music. That's what I always do. That's my pickup, and scripture and quotes. And so you put them there. You have things available and in place before you get started. It's why I like the Lifestone method. Now, I did not create it. Um, a gentleman named Paul Evans created what his 5 stone method, and I kind of it's my Lifestone program is very similar, but it's still mine. Because his is secular. Mine is all about prayer and making sure that God is with us every step of the way. Now, goal setting is, yeah, it's only 20 minutes. I don't know. Goal setting, the goal setting is really important. And God says to create a vision. In Habakkuk 2, 2 and 3, he says to write your vision. That's
Mm-hmm.
why I think putting your goal on paper, creating a vision board, taking the time to dream with God, and to realize that because it also says that if it doesn't come fast enough to wait for it. That's why I don't like the time bound, because sometimes you need to sit and wait on God.
Yeah.
We don't need to grind. And I know that the whole grinding in business, that's how you hustle and you grind. And even it's been converted to Christianese with the coffee, Jesus, and grinding. You know, but grinding is not of God. Action is, but not grinding. So we need to figure out how to have the grace to wait for patience, to wait for his instructions and to spend time with him. I have a business meeting every day with God. God, I sit and wait for God to tell me what we need to do today. And some days it means I have to stay up to midnight recording and writing to get things done, because things do have to be done. So sitting it with grace does not mean you don't do anything, because you still have to work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Any questions?
Y'all got any questions? I think a lot of it works very, I mean, I'm going to apply it to homeschooling. If you have a vision and you know what if you got, I always tell mamas, you got to know your why.
Yes.
You got to know why you're doing what you're doing. And that's kind of what a vision board does. And having a goal, you got to know what your goal is, because when you know why you're homeschooling, when you know why you're doing it, when it's when it becomes one of those, what'd you call it, a firestone? Because
Uh-huh.
if you're having bad days, you go back and you re-look at that why, so that you can remember why you're doing it, and then you're not going to be so prone to give up for that goal. Because if you know what your goals are, you can have your yearly goal for your children, and then you have your big goal, your why. Because that's what I mean, when things were hard, when the kids were like we call high school years, when things were hard and I wanted to bang my head on the wall, and I'm sitting there thinking, why am I homeschooling him? Would it be better to put him in public school? Remembering my why took me down. So I'm
Yes.
like, okay, this is why I'm doing it. It's not for me to have him become some huge person over here. It's for him to be a happy, healthy adult who impacts his world, and he's a healthy kid who's well adjusted, and he's a man of God. And when you
Yes.
remember your why, then you're not struggling over here trying to force something to happen that may not be need to happen. So I always tell mamas, have your whys. You need your vision board. Lesa has a workshop in the group for vision boards. It will be turned into it's going to be turned into a podcast eventually, because it's one of our older ones, and I want her to come back and do vision boards one day. Aria, sometimes we have to have fresh, new workshops, but especially when it's bad recording. And my first step was bad recording, but it's very important to know our why we're doing what we're doing, and so that we're not shifted back and forth when things are bad and when the year doesn't go the way we want it to, and the kids fight us over math, and or we fight ourselves over math.
Yeah. And, teenagers. Since I've graduated mine, I
She
don't have those
has
issues
graduated
anymore.
hers, but they crop back up.
Yes, those
Yeah,
I do remember those teenage boys.
they're a lot of fun. Then then I think it's good when you have your firestones. I like that point. Having your list of things to get you back up and get you back on track.
To me, the most important two parts of that the Lifestone programs is the tombstones and the firestones,
Yeah,
because they're both what's going to keep you going and on track to get there. The whys are, always important.
hmm,
But I think if even when you have your whys, if you don't know what could cause you to stumble, you
yeah.
haven't looked and figured out a way to avoid or a workaround for it,
That is,
or
I think that's a very important point, to know how to work around those things that throw you off. And a lot of mamas don't do that. That you find that you have your list of things to get around that. That's a good point to remember. I may need to go to the Lifestones class, people.
I remember when the boys was younger, when I first started getting curriculum and everything for Dustin, my kids are far enough apart that I had to really, I had plenty of time in between. But I started getting this stuff for Dustin, and I'm going, okay. And I didn't start homeschooling him right away. So I bought stuff. I went
Mhm.
back and bought stuff for Kenny that would have worked for Dustin. But then by the time Kenny got there, I realized that's not going to work for Kenny.
Yeah.
It's not the way he learns. He learns differently. So I had
Hmm.
to change my English curriculum. I was lucky. That's the only one I had to change for him. The rest of them worked together. But I had to completely change the English curriculum that we were using.
Hmm.
So I had to go back to the drawing board for Kenny when I had already purchased all this stuff and had started all over again. So
That's one thing I've found with Lisa. I'm finding that I'm going to buy stuff that I wanted for Cole that I didn't really use because I had so many together. So I was trying to survive the four together. But I find myself wanting to go buy stuff that I bought for Cole. And the funny thing is it's not working. And I'm like, oh, this is not working for the 5-year old.
yeah, things have changed and she's a little bit different.
He is a little bit different. Isn't it funny? And you think, but that's the thing. I could turn that into a tombstone and get caught, or I can roll with the punches, Mama, and find my workarounds. That it's okay. You can sell curriculum if it doesn't work,
Yes,
or
you
give it
might
away.
come out at a little loss, but you're getting what works for your child.
Yes, and everything is works much better when you get what works for your child. So yeah, have your list of workarounds, have your plans for when you hit those tombstones so that it doesn't bury you, that you can work, you have already have a list, a mental list of what you can work around, and then you have your
Oh,
stuff
a
to get
written
you on home.
list.
Yeah,
A
make
written list.
yeah, write it down.
I have a workbook that goes with the program where you actually go through and you rate the difficulties of each one of your tasks.
Mm-hmm.
And you write down your list of what could stop you. And you write down the list of the how to work around it.
That's
Here's
a
this.
very, very good.
This is how we're going to take care of it. Here's this one. This is what we'll take care of it with.
Mm-hmm.
Because it really, to have it, even if it's not, because it's so hard to get a list and keep up with it.
Mm. I know.
But so even if you are creating, not using the workbook, but creating it digitally, however it is that you create it, there's a place. Okay, I'm having a bad day. What was the workaround for this? They're just not getting it. And then my youngest one was both dyslexic, or is both dyslexic and dysgraphic. So
Mm-hmm.
he could not. His reading was horrible. He read words. I got him to where we had to specifically do reading comprehension
Mm-hmm.
because he read words and not sentences. So he didn't read complete thoughts, he read individual words. So I had to teach him how to go and search for what the paragraphs were about, what the reading passages was about. But I could sit and read to him, and he knew everything that was going on.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that was really important, yes. Was it fun to always have to read to the 16-year-old that didn't want to listen? No. But I found audiobooks. I
Mm-hmm.
found where the computer would talk to him,
Yeah.
so he could get that too. With his writing, because of the dyslexia and the dysgraphia, a keyboard, the different parts of the brain uses the keyboard than the actual writing by hand. So he could type and get his thoughts on paper much better than writing.
That's good.
Because with writing, it would be misspelled and backwards and all over the place. But
Mm-hmm.
you find your workarounds. That's all the tombstones are, or your workarounds.
Yeah. And I think that's something I'm going to start talking to mamas about doing. I mean, it's a good thought that I've not thought about. If you have a plan for those bad things, those things that even if they're far off and you imagine it, if you have a plan for it already, then you're not going to be sunk in your water, and you're not going to be saying, hey, let me throw these kids back in public school, because you have not that public school is the worst thing in the world, mama. I'm not saying that, mamas. But if you have a plan in place, then when you're, instead of being sunk because you don't know how to teach your child algebra 1, if you have already have a plan in your mind, then you're going to go past that, and you're not going to get sunk by the things that are discouraging.
Yes. And it can be very discouraging when you have one that doesn't learn the way you know how to teach.
Yeah. When your 5-year-old looks at you and says, this is boring, you're like, oh, I've never had one tell me that school was boring before. You have a workaround.
Or you have one that learn math playing a game, and you're looking at them going, oh, look how good they are at all this stuff. We had this stupid game where it literally taught long addition, adding multiple things together, greater than and less than, comparisons. It taught differences.
Mm-hmm.
I could ask him what the point value was, what the spread was between the 2 point values, his and his brother's. Um, who had the most, what the one what they needed to catch up, all these questions, even simple multiplication.
Yep.
Just simple
So don't throw the
multiplication.
curriculum at them.
But I'm going, oh, we don't need to do math for kindergarten or first grade. When we get started with second grade math, and he don't know place values, and I'm going, oh shoot. So you had to go back and get caught up. And he's looking at me going, do I have to do this? I already know how to do this. I can answer it while I'm walking to my desk. Do I have to do it? Yes, you have to do it. I don't want to miss anything again.
Oh my gosh. Yep. It's so much fun.
Did that.
Yep. So, mamas, there are workarounds. I love that point. So what would you think? I mean, if a mom is starting to make goals, where would she start? What if she's listening to us and she thinks, I don't even know what the goals are. How do they even start? If a mama's going to start, if maybe she doesn't know what goals there are. Where would you
That's
go to start?
that's the dreaming with God. You sit down and you ask. Literally, you sit down and you ask God, what do I want? Then you can do a modified life plan
Hmm.
and looking at the end. It may not be like the end of your life, but it'd be the end of your homeschool journey.
Yeah, where do you
What
want
does
this
that
to
look
end?
like? You know, is this going to be something where, I know people gets to a point where they're like, okay, it's time for school. And they send them off to school. Or you want to graduate them early on college track. Or you want to graduate them on time going to college, or on time not going to college, or early not going to college, which is what I did with the last one.
Hmm.
Yeah, so you have to know where it's going to be, and it will change.
It can change, and it's okay
It
if it
will
changes,
change,
Mama.
and that's okay. I know. I never pushed towards a certain thing. I wanted them to choose. But what I told Kenny was, until you know what you want to do, you are going to college.
Hmm.
Until you are sure exactly what you want to do, we're going to do school like you're going to college, because I need you to be prepared to go to college if that's what you want to do.
Yeah,
Turned out he didn't go to college.
and he's doing fabulous.
Oh yes, he is. He is. I graduated Kenny at 17. 6 weeks after graduation, he started a full-time job as an apprentice diesel mechanic. So he's been there for 2 years, you know, working 50, 60 hours a week. He has his own health insurance. He has his own retirement in place. He has his own 401k established. He got married earlier this year. He has his own house.
He's doing good.
He's adulting as a 19-year-old. So there's a little bit of a caveat there, because he is 19 still. That does show up from time to time. But other than that, he is doing really good. Everything was in place for him, but we had to know where he was going before we did that. When he came to me at 15 years old and said he was done with school, he was going to be a diesel mechanic. He didn't want to go to school to be a diesel mechanic because that required English and math and this other stuff, and it also required for him to pay for it. And instead, he wanted to apprentice so he'll get paid to learn.
That's
So
amazing.
he set that goal for himself, which set the goal for our homeschool for the last 2 years, or the last year of our homeschool. So we got him there, and he went the rest of the way. So
That's amazing. But that's what you do, Mom, is you start with your end and then you break it off into small goals on how to get there.
and be prepared for twists in the road,
Yeah.
because, like I
Shut it
said,
all
his goal was to go to college until he knew what he wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And with only 2 years into high school when he made that decision, it was a definitely different direction.
Yeah. Usually I tell mamas if they don't know, always work on the four core and then tailor electives to what they're interested in. But yes, I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. Go play. No. Oh, she's so sweet. We're almost done. Do we have any questions, Mama? I know we have mamas watching. Y'all got any questions about goals for Lesa while she's here? I know Jennifer was watching. She said that she made goals for 2021 and not resolutions. And I think that's where a lot of us are. I like goals. I like being able to um, learn for goal. I like to set a learning goal. We added some online stuff this year, Skillshare, which has like podcasting and editing and all sorts of videos and classes to watch. And then we added the Great Courses Plus for documentaries this year. So we're trying to get these girls actively learning some stuff outside of the usual. What are you doing? Oh, she's so sweet. Anyway, no questions. Nobody's asking questions. Y'all don't have any? Well, Lesa, I'm very thankful you came to talk about goals. We'll do it. We'll do a redo of the vision board in a month or two
All right.
when we can fix it in your schedule because that was a great one.
That was fun to do.
What do you think? Do you have any questions? No, she doesn't have any questions. Well, good evening, mamas. I'm glad to start off the new year with y'all. We will put this on YouTube. It'll stay up. We'll stay in the group for the month, and then we'll put it on the website too. So you'll be able to find it on the website or on YouTube. So working on making things easier to find.
And if anyone is actually interested in the Lifestones program, it's
Yes,
on my website.
we'll put your website on. I'll put the website on the YouTube channel, and I'll put it in the group so people can find it. So she has some awesome classes for adults. Teens can take them too. My kids have taken her. Is it God's Design?
Discerning your calling.
Discerning Your Calling. I don't know why I
Discerning
always
my
get that
calling.
one
Sorry.
mixed up.
Discerning my calling.
Discerning My Calling. They enjoyed it. They really enjoyed it. I will probably sign Gabriella up for that sometime this year to go along with her schooling because it's a very good program. Say bye. Tell everybody bye. Want to tell them bye? No. She's been Mama's girl. Good night, Mama. We will see you soon.
Good night.